Yahoo, Prof here, and we have a product that looks quite beat up, but it actually hasn't been one of the items that's been sitting around here for... Wow, that tape's changing color. Yeah, that's how long it's been here. But I pre-ordered ages and ages ago. Heard back from Vaxee, as you guys saw here in the box. It is a new mouse. I might have even teased it in other mouse videos, such as the Sony Inzone Mouse A or the Corsair Sabre V2 Pro. I don't know if those are certified bangers or what, but I got good feedback, especially from the Mouse A video. Thanks to you guys that watched that. I really do think it is a good entry. And it turns out that, Sony not only worked with Fnatic, thanks to those who commented, especially on my short, they bought Fnatic gear. Yeah, so that explains why the design is the Bolt with the stuff they've learned from working with, was it Lamzu? Yeah, Sony just owns that team now. Hey, whatever works. Well, this should be, hopefully, Vaxee's new mouse. Apparently, just like many things in the world, if you guys have seen the news about UPS throwing away packages where tariffs weren't paid and stuff like that, apparently Vaxee's stuff got caught in UPS, and they can't get it out. So they just reshipped mine direct from the factory or the headquarters, because those are two different places. Don't remember which one. I mean, I could look. I literally have an email about this. Alice is Alice Chang is their VIP person for those that, shipment got stuck in UPS warehouse. Still no delivery date. HQ, headquarters. Okay, so it came directly from headquarters. You know, because they can ship it throughout Asia as needed, it seems. Getting into the US, however, is a different thing, at least for their large shipment. I think it came across right as the tariffs were expiring. So let's check out what's in this little packet first. I think what it might have shipped from the US, is stuff they would have in stock here. Jeez, I forgot how thick their bubble wrap is. Jeez. And granted, when I did sharpen this, the tip is the one thing that, I mean, see, it's sharp. Just the very tippy tip on here didn't maybe get as good as it could have been. So when pre-ordering this mouse, which, fuck, what's it even called? I think it's the EC? No, the NP-01S. Ergo? NP-01S Ergo. Yeah. And I believe I got a new color, but not like... they can't engrave the brown one. Much like the black, apparently it doesn't do good... doesn't have good engraving results. Alright. So we got feet for the XE. And that is because many of you may have seen my original XE, which will become my mouse for Chibi PC and my work laptop at home here, and those feet are thrashed. I was about to change them, and then the XE V2 came out. So these are specifically for this guy. Then we have XES feet replacements, because I always like having a set of replacements. And I didn't have replacement XES feet. I believe the XES feet also fit the XEV2. I believe those are the same feet. So, which is that dual layer. Let me turn this off so we're not controlling my PC right now. Which is that dual layer, kind of emulates what I used to do and what Takasta had mentioned, where you put on a thicker foot and then rather than taking the foot off back in the day, right, you would actually take the thinner foot and just put it over top. That would also lower your lift height back before we had adjustable lift height on sensors. And a lot of mice back then had sky high lift height. So these are XES feet, silver Fox. These Vaxee has partnered with Unusual Way Sports, certified by Vaxee. They have worked with Unusual Way Sports, and apparently these are supposed to be super duper nice for glass pads. And that is one of the items that I still have not opened up. It's that giant square over there, and that's mostly because I have a monitor impeding my mousing area at the moment. So until I figure that out, it didn't matter how much of a glass pad I had, unless it's a flexible glass pad, and I can assure you they're not. So that's why it's kind of been... Let's put it this way. Wallhack has released... Literally after that one came out, they released a new glass pad. So I got some extra stock feet, and then once the stock feet on my XE V2 wear out, if I'm still on the cloth pad, I will go to the original set. Otherwise, I have a set of these. They're supposed to be very good for that. I mean, they were good enough that... like I said, Vaxee literally... This is how you can kind of tell that brands are good. It's kind of like when Intel stopped doing SSDs, and then they started using Sabre for when shipping with their Intel NUCs. It's kind of like, okay, well, we don't make it ourselves anymore. Who do we trust to make it, right? In this case, apparently, Unusual Way Sports, especially for... they have two different types. This was the Silver Fox. I forget what the other one was. They also make dot feet. Now, I'm just personally not a fan of dot feet. I want the bigger foot with more. Dot feet would reduce your friction, right? That's why people always get confused. They're like, well, but glass pads are super fast. Well, actually, they're not. That's why SkyPad has actually been adding more texture, which speeds them up. A purely smooth glass pad is actually very slow, very scrapey, especially if you put a big mouse foot with it, because there's a lot of contact, surface area, basically. A lot of it is touching at the same time. Supposedly these are good enough where Vaxee was like, hey, instead of making our own, well, we already made our own here, but we think rather than developing additional feet, that at least for now, that's what we recommend going with. And with the new... I bought this. These are specific add-ons, right, to the what's in here that I pre-ordered. With this, if you pre-ordered it, they sent you a set of the of your choice of the original unusual Way Sports feet for the NP-01S Ergo, right? Well, you can see how originally this probably would have fit 6 mice, I would say. Probably originally. And it looks like we got the mouse box corrected. Here's my original. This is for the NP-01S here. Thought it was a bit odd because the NP-01S shipped with a box that you were supposed to reuse for travel. But then basically if you had pre-ordered it, especially if you were, I don't know if that one was available to non-VIPs, but if you were a VIP for sure, if you pre-ordered it, you would then get this mouse box for the NP-01S. Now, I was supposed to get one for my XEV2. Actually, no, this was the XEV2 one. I never got the original for the NP-01S. Now, that was a little bit confusing, if you guys recall, because I did return one, and the rules on getting these is you have to not return them. And then you can, like, you know, if you don't get the... Say if you get a mouse and you're like, I don't like it. Or like, I don't like that color, and you send it back. Well, in my case, I was sent the... that navy blue color, and I actually didn't like it, but they also knew prior to sending it to me that it was going, they're like, yep, we're going to, this is like our first VIP thing. It was before they had the engraving, right? We're just going to ship it to you. If that's not the color you end up wanting, tell them beforehand, and then they'll know how many are going to come back, basically. So I think this case was actually the one for the following mice, whereas now I have two more. So I can store all my mice, you know, in here as like this. Personally, I don't know if I'm going to keep all of them with a cable like that in there. I think this is just the cable I usually have around. I don't actually think that, looking at this now, that's not even a cable for the NP-01S, I don't think. Hold on here. Doesn't have fangs. So yes, that's not even a cable for an NP-01S. V2, sorry. Specifically. I think that's just my Vaxee cable that I keep around here for doing charging and BIOS updates and stuff like that. Yeah, because the other one in here is a Zoe. Nah, whatever. Probably give the other one to my XEV2. I'm not sure that the E1 will fit in one of those. It's a pretty big boy. Alright. But we have both those, so now we're caught up on cases. I can keep my readily used Vaxee mice in their cases. Just gonna toss those back there. Same thing if you pre-ordered this guy, you got a case. At least for the VIPs, it was because these are personalized. Obviously, if you personalize it, unless something is physically broken with it, you cannot return it. Right? Hopefully that makes sense to all of you. Unusual Way Sports. I don't remember which ones these are. There you go. I'm guessing Silver Fox, except for the NP-01S Ergo rather than the XE. And yes, these do say XE small, also XEV2. They share the same feet. I don't know what the original XE small had. Can't remember off the top of my head. I also might have bought the, I'd have to double check. The other thing is I might have picked up, I don't know if the original XE small had the double feet on it. My brain is lacking in memory at the moment. Order confirmation email. Oh, that's not my actual order. Yeah, I got my Vaxee exclusive whatever service. My own order number. Blah blah blah. Let's go to vaxee.co, which is their website. And let me get signed in. It constantly wants to change your password. Remember, people, realistically, don't change your password unless you need to, like as in you think it's compromised, or like whether it's been on that website or another one. Order overview. Let's check it out. All orders. See details. Okay, I'm gonna use Silver Fox. Oh, I got light green again. Color me unsurprised. Yeah, I don't remember. Silver Fox. Okay, yep. So, same foot as you saw. They're silver. That's what I thought. Same as this one, except, see? And they actually recommend for glass pads the dot feet. Personally, I think they're insane because on any glass pad I'm used to, now granted, I haven't used the Gen 4 SkyPad. That's what's over there. Now there's a Gen, not even SkyPad anymore, it's Wallhack. I've not used the Gen 5. But traditionally, you wear out feet like that on those compared to on a normal mouse pad, right? Especially cloth. Especially, in my opinion, if you're going cloth, I don't get the people who go speed cloth. You go like nice squishy cloth, right? The dot feet for those like sink into the pad. You're basically scraping the whole bottom of the mouse. Personally, from my experience, clarifying there. Like I actually want, I don't want to say I want more friction. I just like having more pad. When the Vaxee EC series finally went to the full pad on their stuff, I was very happy. Or the Zoe EC series, if I said Vaxee EC series. So yeah, personally, trying different mouse feet, cool. They actually went over like, because there are different formulations as a Teflon. Everybody's like, oh no, you need virgin PTFE and blah 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 blah. That's for the best. Is it though? Realistically, mouse feet seem to be like switches on keyboards. There isn't a best gaming switch or a best. You know, there's the I don't know what the Logitech makes their gaming mouse feet out of, but they disappear, right? As compared to various Razer ones, which seem to last forever. You know, I think there's also tempering with PTFE. Teflon would be the product name, but PTFE is the generic one. So they had to remake this. But customized, as you can see, because my other one is stuck in some UPS warehouse someplace. Thanks, UPS. Just watch you get torched like everything else. You might be able to tell by these little beep boops here that this is light green, like my XEV2. Originally I did that because this one allows the full length engraving so I can get the prop assist on it. The other thing is on the XE, I originally did not have that. I originally had the new black, which is like a gray black. But then that got delayed due to the base of the XEV2 mouse issues. So I had light green, white, malt brown, pink, fluorescent green, obsidian black. There you go, obsidian black. It's like sort of a... I did want to try that one, but that one can't be engraved. Malt brown is like the new color. You're like, what do you mean new color? What I mean is... Oh, and they did launch fluorescent red, which is pretty dope. Now, like later on in the XEV2, they got fluorescent red right there. All right. That one wasn't there on launch. So I'm kind of restricted. Downside, I guess, of there you go. Original is white and light green. You can see it's from August. We're now 2 months later. There you go. Pink and malt brown there. Malt brown, I think. And that one you can't get customized. That is their second Vaxee lifestyle mouse. It's called Cream. You couldn't you couldn't pre-order that due to limited quantities. I think you could tell them you wanted one and they could like reserve one as a way or something. I don't remember exactly. I was actually considering it because that color's pretty awesome. That I want to be able to get customized, which is fine. Didn't really need the shirt. Their shirts are nice, so they did send me one of those one of the years. The VIPs ended up being testers of those, basically. I think that was the first item they sent as a thank you. Using the letter opener that I really need to clean the blade on because it's all full of sticky goop from opening all these awesome items with all of you. So this is still the same box as the NP-01Sv2, where if you didn't get yourself a nice little carrying case, they package this in a way where you can reuse this. And you could toss this in your, basically you could repackage this, pull here, pop that off. They figured out how to fit the dongle down there, whereas originally the dongle was kind of like in the side over here. But you could take this as is, and it's designed to, you wrap up your cable, you put it back in here, toss that in your bag, and it's at least something to bring your mouse to and fro with. And then you gotta take this little guy here, flip it down, and is it gonna pull? There you go. So in here you got your dongle, and you got your charge cable. I will double check, but I believe what dongle we're gonna need out. Charge cable. Oh, it's even harder than usual. This is that like non-reusable cable tie. Vaxee, you really should go back to having the nice, where it stays on. Oh, this is technically a reusable cable tie, I shouldn't say, but it doesn't stay on the cable. Like as soon as you take this off, it's gone. Your cat takes it. Yeah. This is the newer rubber cable. Still has little kinks, so you can use it plugged in if you need to, but they increased the gauge of the copper wire in here for the power line, at least the power lines. I don't think also the data lines, but that way it can charge faster, because they're not worried about like the most flexibility, because it's, I think what they found is exactly what I kind of, this is better, okay, what I kind of knew all along, which is that people buying mice of these caliber either just remember to charge them, or what I do is if it does actually start dying, you just grab another mouse. I also, now that they've fixed it where you can PD charge it, like off any USB-C, like I have the Razer ones, which are way overpriced. I have the Charge, previously Chargique ones, like they're like 140 watt. Dual C with 1A on it. You can plug this bang into C. After updating the firmware, they fixed it now where you can charge these directly off of a wall charger, USB-C wall charger, which in my opinion, all of you should already have at your desk. Any of you who are actually charging off the USB port in your PC, why? That's just gotta be annoying because your PC wants to add it as a device every dang time you do that. Also, like, you already have a power strip there or a UPS there. Heck, your UPS, if you have it, might already have a USB-C port on it. But even if not, like, just get yourself a, I mean, I think, what do we buy? A 65-watt USB-C charger from Ugreen is like $20 on sale. $25 not on sale, okay? Just get yourself one. Get yourself a nice chubby cable, right? 10-footer, so you can get anywhere you need to at your desk, right? Just plug her in. I just use that one cable. Probably soon be charging this phone because it's going to be dying, probably before the end of this video or during the next. And charge all your things with that cable, you know? Maybe get yourself a USB A to C cable for that weird shit that doesn't have PD properly implemented. Vaxee mice, though, they even like posthumously refixed like the OG, the XE. So one thing I really like about Vaxee is if they add a software feature, excuse me, hiccup and burping, if they add a software feature to a new mouse pertaining the old hardware is capable, it gets added to the old mouse. And so far, actually both friends that have been like, oh, I gotta have one of these, have been the XE Small. And yeah, as soon as the web UI was available too, they changed their DPIs. I think one of them used 1200 if I recall correctly, which wasn't an option before. But I really do like this cheat sheet. Realistically, this is all you need if you want a full manual. Go to the website. The only thing that I would like a touch more than this, Vaxee, QR code. Boom. Right there. Or for each language. But probably just one big QR code someplace on this. You know, boom, 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 boom. Maybe boom, boom, boom with your Vaxee logo in the middle, right? The reason why is then it could take you to the full manual, right? Or full page, full product page. That should be something else I should say about Vaxee. You have your sales page, but you really don't have product and support pages. Like all of your support for all your mice is in like one page. That like infinitely scrolls. Like I can just tell you it's not the best for people who are not used to that sort of thing. So when a coworker tries out the XE and is like, oh, but I would like something smaller, then you come out with the XE Small and they're like, holy hell, I'm going to buy that with my next paycheck, and they do. And then I tell them later that, hey, you got to update your firmware with, because you have web UI, and they're like, where the fuck even is that? See, that's what you want to counter, right? So let's grab my XEV2, turn it off. Okay, that looks like a the bottom, the guts are the exact same as the XEV2, if you ask me. I am glad they put the little remove doodles on there. So we're gonna remove those. And we're gonna remove those. There's none on the middle one. Now, this is lake green. That's why you're like, I thought you already had a mouse that color. Yes, this has happened in the past before. To be truthful, if I knew that Molt Brown, like at this point, Molt Brown's shipping. Because, like I said, mine kind of, blame UPS. But I do have a bunch of the fluorescent green as well. And no, the XE before my E1 is fluorescent green. I had a red one, the old red one. Squares has that now. And then we got the old kind of like pastel yellow on the XE that's super duper worn. Now, if you want to see how Vaxee plastic wears, there you go. You can kind of see with the thumb and the finger. You can see it, but this is like more than 2 years of use. I used this from when the XE came out to when the XEV2 came out, and I've even used it a little bit since then, but until I have my second setup back where I have like a work area / second desktop area, and main desktop area is separated. That's when this will get back into service. That's when we'll give it some new feet as well. So, because I have the wired, I have my orange wired one that actually they replaced under warranty, outside of warranty. Sorry, they I don't remember if it was like 50% off or something like that. But, so NP-01S Ergo. Zoom on in. NP-01S. Eyeballing it, this has more of a hump and it's more forward. Jesus. Am I so slippery with my dry hands? Like, my hands are dry now, right? I don't know how many of you have this issue, but my hands are dry now to make everything slippery, right? But then when I start using my hands, they just sweat like crazy. And it's like an acidic sweat that takes off most brands' coatings, which is why Vaxee has done quite well. Ever since they switched to this colored, you know, the original XE wired with the orange one I have at the office, ever since they switched to that, I have had very, very, very good luck. Not with their white. Now, their white was fine. Okay, Squares has my white one. That was fine. Black, no, bad. Dark or deep blue, I think it was called, bad. We went over that. That one was kind of sent and be like, oh, yep, you know, if you like it, you keep it. Otherwise, we'll swap it for like when the other colors come out. No bueno. Okay. Oh, yeah. That's a slight change. Squares might like this, though. I do already like it more. Okay, so the NP-01S. Very flat. Very flat. Very, 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 very flat. Got a bump. I know it doesn't look like much bump, but then when you compare it to the NP-01S here, there's actual ergonomics there. Ergonomics? Ergonomics? And that is a super slight change. I mean, the other changes that you're seeing here are literally changes that are brand new, I would say. Okay, and what I mean by that is look around the scroll wheel. Gosh darn it. Slippy hands. That's why when I hold my phone, I gotta put my pinky underneath it. Anybody else like that? Even with my smaller, I have the Pixel 9 Pro, not the XL. I still gotta support it with my pinky. So if you can see, like this goes, there's a little like hook shape back here where like theoretically a button could go. They don't have a button there. They also don't have a button back here, right? But the switches got redesigned because E1 is like the NP-01Sv2. See? Like that. Very similar. Same color. Right? But then the XE, I don't have the XE small down here because that's like what predates this guy. Even this, instead of being round though, it's squared, right? That makes sense. So this is previously the newest mouse from them. But then on the newest mouse, the NP-01S Ergo, and you got to remember, I believe NP-01S was their most popular mouse, at least for FPS games, followed by the XES. Now, I don't have tiny hands, but the NP-01S was actually usable for me with my larger hands, and somebody could be like, what size are they? I never fucking remember. Okay? Okay? People? Okay? What's it? I always kept thinking it was, this, we only got inches here, and I know you guys like centimeters. I think I got a ruler over here. I always just think it was like 18 or something like that. Now, maybe that's just me being like, oh, that's what Zai had. Rocket Jump Ninja. Turns out, yes, no, my hand bigger. I don't think I have the world's biggest hand. I definitely know people that have bigger ones. But if we go down to the wrist here, 20 you know, here's the, I wish, and you're like, oh, just flip the ruler over, then the edges will change, and inches will be over here, and centimeters will be over there. Not with our American brains. It's the same when you flip it over, because that's useful. Why put the same thing on both sides of the ruler? Literally pointless. X-Acto, you fail. Wow, you're just not very smart. Now, why do I keep this one? It does actually, most metal rulers do not go to the end. Right? They do like this down here. And they do that on both ends because it's more precise. Right? This X-Acto one goes all the way flush to the end, which can be useful. Say 20 to 20 and a half. If I wasn't awkwardly doing this and I actually had the correct side of the friggin' ruler, some might even say 21 if you look there. So I think we averaged, because in different angles of my wrist it was 20 and 21, so I think we averaged 20 and a half. I think I did a tape measure one time too where we got closer to 21, because I have a metric tape measure somewhere around here. But yes, I have a bigger hand. I personally don't think I have a big hand, but I personally didn't think I was tall because of the type of people I'm normally around. And then I go to places where the demographic is not, let's just say Caucasian, and I'm like, oh, okay, yep. Because like where I work, even the females are nearly as tall or taller than I am, depending. Yeah, that's like, you're in IT, indeed. So this whole thing, especially on the right side, like here, that whole bit over there, there's more there. So I wonder if they moved up the grip on the side. They definitely filled in the feet. I always wondered why that. Well, NP-01S got the smiley feet, I think, from the NP-01. But yeah, I don't know why they smiled it out there. I have to imagine that it doesn't look like the same feet. So maybe that's why they have a separate baggie for these guys, is because the NP-01S Ergo seems to have its own foot design. Kind of surprised on that, to be truthful, because you would think that they would just keep, like, why not retain this design? I prefer this design because I can get more foot. Yeah. Both are NP-01S heavier. If so, Vaxee's doing their black magic again, where they make the bigger mouse lighter than the smaller mouse, which is kind of fucking nuts. Yeah, piece of shit. NP-01S is 2 ounces. NP-01S Ergo, 2.1 ounces. There you go. So it is a little bit heavier. Gotta try and choose grams. I still haven't bought a mouse scale. Just something to be cognizant of when you see people weighing mice, is how accurate their scale are, or their scale is. If they have one, like, a lot of scales go past what they are accurate at measuring. Like, say if they're accurate down to 1 gram plus or minus 10%, but they show you 0.0 grams, that is literally pointless. Right? Because it's not accurate that far. because it's plus or minus 1% of a gram, right? So realistically, the gram is the accurate part. So if we want to get down into like the weights of these new mice, which is at least in grams accuracy, but probably now with the small differences, like they are literally putting decimal, like tenth of a gram weights on mouse boxes now. Case in point, Sabre V2 Pro, right? Too small. But I mean, this thing's ridiculously lightweight. It also like squishes in when you touch in the like about right above the logo right there. You can literally feel the plastic caving in. That is not something Vaxee would ever do. Not my style shape mouse. Squares was using it. He also like it's very front heavy too. And you're like, front heavy with that lightweight? Yeah, it's like surprising because like all the guts are up here. Or at least all the heavy guts. So like say if you wanted to accurately do 1/10 of a gram, right? You actually need something that goes to 100th of a gram and then is plus or minus a percentage of 100th of a gram. That way everything you measure, the 10th spot is correct, okay? So a lot of, and I've seen the scales, like a lot of people use like food scales and stuff like that. You know, it'll get you in. And I mean, mine's just a shit postage scale that if you have it on a surface that is angled, it's bad. So yeah, that's why I NP-01S Ergo. Do they have it compared to? Yep, clean support of the back of the palm. Indeed, it does. I can feel that weight. Weight has been reduced 59 to 60 grams. Well, what did they claim the NP-01S is? NP-01Sv2. Yeah, 56 to 57 grams. So I don't know what the NP-01S Ergo's weight is reduced from, because it didn't have the previous one. Here you go. There you go. The weight has been reduced to 59 to 60 grams. From what? It's the first one of this design. Don't know. Maybe they're comparing it to like NP-01, even 01 non-S. Ergo mice. They show you can use it with the doodle. Whatever you want. Oh, excuse me. Yawn. Error. Play back the video. Suitable for slightly tilted grip. E1 tilted grip. NP-0's flat grip. I guess you can kind of see a little bit there. Maybe I can capture that in my spinny spin of the mouse. I don't even notice the tilt. That's got to be awfully slight. My big thing is it fills in the palm area so much more because, all right, let's take a little. Okay, we're gonna lock it in right there, right? And then we're gonna swap that out for the NP-01S. Do you see that? It's way flatter right here. There's a bump here, but on the NP-01S Ergo, the bump is here. That is the big difference. Okay. Let's get this thing straight on. I mean, that might be slightly tilted, and here, you guys want to see tilted? That's tilted, right? Or I would say I still have the new Death Adder Pro V4, which you guys want tilted. You think this guy's tilted, right? Look at that. That dude's tilted. This bump that's like right here, you can see it when you turn it here. Like there's just this massive Like, that actually makes my hand want to slide off the mouse. I'm actually quite accurate with this mouse, but like that after some time, like right where this is for me, I call it the ball of my hand. It's very much like the ball of your foot. If you notice, I have calluses and stuff on there. That gets uncomfortable, like where, because it's just so tall. Look at how tall it is right there. That is too much. Too much. Now that is the E1. That is tilted. If you guys are an EC2 user, get yourself an E1. Become a Vaxee stan like I am. Yeah, looking from the top, it is a little tilted. See, it's just a no tilt whatsoever. No tilt whatsoever, but more ergo. See, is flat. Is not flat. Kind of in between. So that thing, like, even the clicks, that thing's flatter. It's like this. I don't know that I necessarily like the tiltedness of it. I just like that this part actually has, like its hump is moved up, if that makes sense. Let's check the other side. All right. Why are we just not focusing right now? There we go. All right. So that's what that side looks like. All right. Crest up here. Where's this guy? More here. Yeah, I don't know. These are different colors, which isn't helping. Yeah, it's got a bigger bum. On like this side, I didn't think that much was changed. Like, it really just seemed like it was kind of the left side that changed. Right? It's not letting me focus. There we go. See, like this side is what changed. See? Okay, there's a hump there. And you're like, oh, but you said you didn't like the hump on the Death. Do you see the difference in hump on the Death Adder? That's like a 45-degree slope. If you guys are claw users, I would not be surprised if you prefer this, because there's almost none of like your sort of inner knuckle that is touching the top of the mouse here. But I could use this because this thumb would bring the ass, right? Because the ass is raised up off the pad, if you notice there. I need a little bit of a bump hump. You know, that's one mistake where, I shouldn't call it a mistake, but that's something where an EC2 and a Death Adder. Now, the Death Adder, the newer ones, seem to have like a little bit of a lift off the surface all the way around. But the EC2s basically are flat. I seem to like it a little bit better when there's a little bit of flare on that badonkadonk. Just it kind of raises the whatever you want to call that, like the base part of your palm right here off the surface. Just it takes it from being flat on the surface like this, which is a lot of control, but it just kind of, and it gives you that little bit more mobility in your wrist. So this feels much closer to an NP-01 than an NP-01S. And you're going to be like, well, go and get one of those. I could. Definitely could. Not going to, though. This thing is so flat. I was not a huge fan of the original NP-01. It did get revisions when they went to the wireless one. They didn't change the name. Or even, I don't even think they put a V2 on it. But it did get some slight tweaks. This thing's much more rounded and filled out. It's some actual. Here's my huge. Okay, I'm at home with the XE. Obviously, that's my main. Okay, NP-01. Smaller, lighter mouse. Like I said, I can deal with it because of this place where you can hook your thumb around its butt and kind of pull it in. I like having a little bit. You see how this part of my hand is supported here? Right. I like having that. So I like the hump being a little bit more forward. So that's kind of where the NP-01S Ergo comes in, is I get a little bit of that support in the mouse a little bit further forward, right? But I can still, I don't need to, like this guy, I literally have to wrap my thumb around it, like, and draw it in, right? That's really what's anchoring. And then over here, kind of right there is what's anchoring this mouse. Everything else is like just moving, clicking. So I said claw would be great. This guy's, what reminds me of this being much closer to the original NP-01 is that just the entire side in general, if you look over there below the buttons, it's so much more rounded. Whereas an XE is like flat. See that? Where it actually rounds under. Whereas this one kind of bulges out. I don't know if you can tell that. But it like bumps out a little bit. And I prefer the flatter sides personally. Yeah, this I keep wanting to like squish my hand because I want, like, I'm used to having that support below, especially these knuckles here, right? Like right there. And you don't get it on the NP-01. But you get a lot more. You get plenty of room for how your fingers want to move around. The kind of, like, I was calling it like pot bellied or round bellied or design of this though, that's gonna gonna require some of me getting used to. The so it looks like when I hold it, I can grip much further forward. Whereas this guy I have to grip closer in to really draw it in there. I can have a little bit looser grip on the NP-01S Ergo. It is a bigger mouse though. And then we get to just the XE, which is just an amazing shape, in my opinion. This is kind of where you get into, I nowadays almost prefer the Viper V3 Pro or Hyperspeed because it's like an ambidextrous death header. It's like they took the Gen 3 of this, took the right side, ka-chowed, and then mirrored it, right? So it's like this lower side. But you can still lock in real nice because you got a nice big thumb area. You got a little flare on the butt. See, a little butt flare. No butt flare. Nada. Little butt. See, this is much closer. That's why I actually default to this mouse. Not, though I had this one out from testing. And it's a real nice responsive mouse. I think I prefer a lot of people have to call me crazy, but I prefer the V3 white and the V2 white finish, which is the like rough plastic. It's more of a gray than a white. When the Death Header V3 just plain came out in this sort of the black that was this, it's almost like a chalky finish. Not a fan. Not a fan. I can't grip this. I don't know if you see how slippy that is compared to this guy or this guy. I actually have some grip there, whereas this is like, wee-ha! Now I say, as we've said before, I get it bad in both directions. Like initially my hands are very dry, right? You can see my skin literally actively cracking, right? But then as soon as I start doing anything intensive, like I was pulling cables or putting lights up, they just drip liquid, right? Same thing happens when I play games. That's often, I think that's part of the reason why I don't like soft pads, because I got to clean them fairly often, because you'll sweat into them, and then like you'll run your hand on it and you'll see like brown or white come up. That's your sweat. That's your human ooze, your human schmoo, as I call it often on some of my videos. You gotta clean that out. And if you don't, you gotta replace the pad. So I like the better support of the hand versus the S. I can see why a lot of you are probably not going to like this shape more, is because it is bigger. I like that it supports your hand a little bit more forward. We've already discussed this. The other one kind of peaks here. This one peaks here. So you get more support forward, right? You get a little bit of a cant, which I don't mind. I tend to prefer ambi mice lately, but the thing here is that this is like a taller back now. So that's why I prefer it more than the cant. The cant isn't the reason why. It's because it's taller. The thing I don't like, though, is whereas this has this kind of little like dip in it, hard to show you, for your thumb, like under here, there's like a nice dip. Under here, it's actually kind of like, it like bulges out. And you can see that. But it goes whoop, and then goes down. My thumb wants to sit right on that like little bulge out. And I've had other mice like that, and I just don't feel like I get the grip I want to have, whereas I go back to the XE and it's like, oh, bellissimo. You know. So we did seem to switch scroll wheels again. Might be the same one that's on the NP-01S V2. Might be a little bit different. Let's try that. Pretty sure they're the same. Yeah, they feel very similar. I am definitely more of a flat. If you see, that's like a wider, flatter scroll wheel, right? Definitely more my jam than this sort of skinny, tall scroll guy. But as we know, like this is more my jam for a mouse than this is. I can play with this though. I would actually argue, you're like, oh, you like the XE, so then you like the XE small. No, I would put my second mouse for Vaxee until this guy's come out. We got to play with it, right? As NP-01S, right? And then kind of like vying for that is the E1. Kind of different, completely different flavors, right? My hand feels at home on a big Ergo mouse like this because I played, like, Death Header was my main LAN mouse for ages, right? Then I finally got into sort of like your standard enthusiast 5-button mice with the EC2A. Right, so this is I'm very at home in this, but I would tend to actually grab this guy. Yeah, this is a really good mouse. Squares doesn't use his, and then every time he does, he's like, oh, that's a damn good mouse. I need to use it more. I'm like, yes, you do. This is kind of like a good average. It's still a rounded top, but it's wider, right? I still prefer the flatter scrolls. Don't you dare do, what did they do on the XES, I think it was, or was it on the NP-01 original, not V2, where they made it like bumpily, and like, I think it was the Japanese market freaked out. They're like, never do that again. And they're like, we were just trying something. They're like, well, don't try that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, and Vaxee was like, oh, all right, we'll go back. Yeah, okay. I can definitely feel that bulge out. And for me, maybe some people like that, where it like raises the middle of where your thumb is up and out. But compared to, like, I would rather have it scoop in or be flat. Like go in, like this way, in, or be flat. This one locks in real well. This, I think, because it got a little bit bigger over there, it got a little roundy on this side here. And we'll have to see how that plays. I may just forget about it later on, but especially coming from the XE, which is like more of a flat chop chop, and knowing, you know, I have an NP-01 non-S, wireless and original, multiple wired ones. This little bit is getting closer to the bigger variant of this. So, but if you guys were looking for, like, say you're like, I like the NP-01S, but it's too flat, that's where I'd say the Ergo. Yes, there is some right hand tilt to it. You can see it there, right? Compared to that, there it is there. But then look at the E1. That's right hand tilt. Okay. I would say you're looking at this more to fill out your hand a bit more forward, if that makes sense. You can even see with the lights glinting off here that it's taller for longer, right? Whereas this is like flat bump. This is bump, scoop down. There you go. So I'll have to give this a bit of use and compare. As always, like my biggest and number one trial for this sort of stuff, what I do is I leave the Vaxee V2 on the desk plugged in, and then I play video games. Yeah, my go-to for years has always been Call of Duty, but you know, whatever, you do what you would expect to do with that and see if you want to go back to it, right? If I don't have to readjust my hand, I don't have to do weird shit, I don't think something's going wrong, good mouse, you know. Like I said, with that Death Rider V4 back there, I was clicking heads with it. It did what I was expecting to do. And once I got into the game, I showed you like my hand slipping off to the side. I was a little sweated up, a little bit gripped on. I didn't have that issue. Would I choose to use that as my day-to-day mouse, though? No, because my hand would be sliding off it all day. But it's a solid mouse. Now, we did the same thing with the Sony Inzone Mouse A. And it is a unique shape. I like it a lot. Squares liked it. He didn't like it as much as I did. I don't remember if he said it was too big or too... No, it wasn't too small. He said this other one's too small. It's like short and stumpy, but very tall. And it's tall where I like it. Behind the... Even up to here, it's tall. Right? I was looking for here on the NP-01S. We're all the way up to here on this guy. You can kind of see it. Like, it supports the part of the hand that I want supported. Really like it. Quality made mouse. This thing I used for 2 weeks straight. Almost didn't want to switch off of it. My only issue has been, and I didn't know how I was going to feel about it, was the scroll wheel. I thought it was interesting that it was just a hard material. I'm like, oh, that's going to be good for middle clicking. It's going to have good durability. What I have found, though, is that with my weird skin that's like dry and then at the same time soaking wet, I would go to scroll and look. I don't have enough friction. Even when I'm trying to do this as light as I am, I'm clicking that. So without the rubber on here, there's like no give or grip for your fingy tip. And then other times when I would be like my hands sweating and I would purposely try and scroll, I'd have to push down, and the middle click on here is super fucking sensitive. I want to say I'm putting double the force, it feels like, into this one on the XE. There's this guy. It doesn't require that much force to click. Like, look at that. Barely any. And then in order to get like grip, I have to like push in so that my finger actually like deforms, and then I can scroll, right? Often I'll click it then. Don't have that issue on the middle clicks on Vaxee mice. I'm like purposefully kind of doing it there. But there, I'm scrolling the same way, and you can see how much more often this is clicking. Now, I feel like, just like all mice, that is something that you could adjust to. If this truly became my main mouse, right, I could probably adjust to it. One thing I would give Sony feedback for on this, and this is something I didn't have in my original video, was increase the tension on this, please. Make it less like hair trigger. Look at that. It's a hair trigger, and give us some rubber. Otherwise, amazing mouse. I mean, I would prefer having bigger feet, but like all of this is just basically a sticker, pre-applied, kind of like Lamzu would do. So that guy went swinging. I literally, the only reason why I stopped using it was this guy came in. And then I lent it to Squeers knowing I was picking up this one. Now this thing, it appears that it is just another OEM rebrand from Corsair. Like, people found the, this thing's so fucking light, it's ridiculous. They found the OEM rebrand of it. Now here's my issue. The sensor doesn't do the right DPI. I kept going back to, not only was I going back to my XEV2, I was going back to my Sony Inzone mouse as it was still here, right? And I was going back to, I was trying other Corsair mice, like this M75 non-air that is a brick, but it's translucent. Ooh, it's actually the Mac edition. That's not why I got it because it was translucent and pretty, and because you can actually look at DPI button. Ooh, look at that DPI button. You wish you had that on your M75 Air. I mean, this thing is a brick though. Like, it is. Jesus. Clicks on here. I can click it way back up here. That ain't right. And what I mean by I can click it right up here, that ain't right, is that I can do it just as well as down here, if not better response. That's some jacked up. Maybe I'm incorrect in saying that, but like, you have much better control down here than you should up here. Feels the same on that mouse no matter where you click, which is kind of weird. This whole thing, like, it feels like you're squishing the whole mouse when you do this. But my biggest issue with this thing, and there is not a firmware. Hey, that's where I slipped when I went like that the one time. I'd even done that in the review. Also, I feel like that foot around the sensor is lower profile than the feet. Anybody else notice that? So what the fuck is it doing? Nothing. Yeah, I did test. Squares didn't do exact testing, but what I would do is I would line it up on this dot here and drag it across the mouse. I figured this out after a whole night of being frustrated. Me going back to the mouse, being like clicking heads, going back to here, going to the XEV2, clicking heads, trying out like other, like I have Razer mice in here. Right, here's a Death Adder Hyperspeed, a V3 Hyperspeed, arguably the best Death Adder shape right now, if you ask me. Finish is the worst finish of all of them. This is the same as the V3. Actually, it might be different than the V3. It's just like it's the most slipperiest. It's even slipperier than the chalky white finish. Yeah, I think I popped in the Viper though. Or to be truthful, actually I might not have, because I've just been rocking this Basilisk for work often. You guys might have seen the video on that. So I was like having better luck gaming with this, right, than I was with that Corsair mouse. And that is because the Corsair mouse, when you have it on at least 400 DPI, it is not the same 400 DPI as everything else. I don't know what is going on that. I haven't seen other people complaining about it. But Squares found the same thing. Also, it's very, okay, it's super light, right? But something that I personally prefer more than lightweight is balance, right? And I don't know if you can see that. It is very front heavy. Yeah. Very front heavy. Like, very imbalanced. All the guts must be up there. Yeah, it's like interesting that it's so stupid lightweight. The other thing is that this is in their web UI. Nothing else is. Also, I believe Square's tested, this does not work in IQ, which is weird because even Sony managed to have that'll work both in their desktop gaming software and in the web UI. Right? Good job, Sony. Come out of the gate with a web UI and it works with your, like, say I need the game software. I don't have it installed anything currently, but I need the game software for my earbuds, right? So there's a high chance that Sony Inzone is gonna be my backup on the mouse here. And often I would run 2 Vaxees. Maybe I'll still do that. Sometimes it's nice to have different brand names. But that's what I might run because I have to run. I have the Inzone earbuds that have like a USB-C dongle. To do the spatial surround on that, the customization of those, there's a desktop app. Well, that would work with those. Same app. Whereas Corsair, yay, you did the web UI. Awesome, good job, right? Except this is the only mouse product that can use it. And it can't be used in IQ. The other weird thing is they actually recently announced, not for the M75 or the M75 Air, though. Their previous top tier mice. They recently announced that a lot of their products now have a web firmware updater. So, like, the firmware that's in these bad boys, right? That can be done via the web. Here's this crazy thing that a lot of other people seem to figure out and fall into on Twitter and on YouTube when they announce this. What benefit is there for a web firmware updater if you still need IQ to configure the mouse? If you already have IQ to configure the mouse and have to have IQ. God, this thing's so fucking heavy. I think the Basilisk is around the same weight as this thing. What did they do to this damn thing? Gosh. It is kind of pretty though. Side note, if you like the Phantom Green Basilisk and the other Razer products, which are actually like really, really nice looking, they now have Phantom White, which is effectively frosted clear. Oh, beautiful. Hopefully we get some more. I do not need another Basilisk. I will stick with my green one. I do not use that mouse enough to... It is really not handy to have a mouse that is... I remember my Vaxees used to be that way, where I had dual dongle for them. Or on the mice that I would have Bluetooth to the work laptop, RF to the desktop, and I can just flip it on the bottom. So fucking handy. And I just kind of have it as the... I'm not... Like, my trackball is getting a little crunchy in the hand. I gotta need a mouse to use grab it. Cool, I got the hyper scroll, etc. But when even that, like I was gaming better with the Basilisk because the DPI on this thing ain't right. Something's not right. You know what I mean? Something's not right. And that's the sort of stuff that will disqualify a mouse for me, is if it doesn't do the expected mouse things, right? And this one is not... A lot of Corsair's mice don't do the expected mouse things. I think it was the M55. Like the M75 Air. Don't get the non-Air unless you really want this 4Mac edition. That comes with a anchor... Was it an anchor adapter? A Ugreen adapter? It's like, really, guys, you couldn't have gotten your own name screen printed on there, Corsair. Like, how big are you? Because it's 4Mac, they need to be USB-C, obviously, and that dongle they weren't going to redesign to be USB-C. Nice scroller in here, though. There's also the M55. That one's pretty good. And then there's a... I don't know if that's the M55 or not. There's like a... not the Sabre. The... I need a working mouse. Oh, here. See, this is the one nice thing about the Mr. Basilisk. You just grab him. He's always working. Let's go to Corsair. Nice. Gaming mice. Hold on here. Let me plug in Corsair. Maybe I can replicate what it was doing. Yes, my #1 use of a Vaxee old school wired. Oh, here, look, USBs on that side. I'm trying to plug in the other side. #1 use of a Vaxee USB cable though is the trackball. Which reminds me, I need to talk to one of my team leads. Look at that guy. He has nice pens. This is dual ano. Yes, the inside of the pen is purple. Look at that. So cool. I've never seen them dual anodized, like the inside and the outside differently. I gave one of my team leads a USB extension. And I was like, oh, that solved their issue. Also, Bob mouse issue fixed. Bob mouse issue fixed. All right, let's go to mice. Okay, Sabre V2. There's the wireless Apple edition. Blah blah blah. They just call it Cool Transparent Blue Edition. Weighs a billion weights. Yeah, they came out with the new Scimitar M55 wireless. It's basically the older school Logitech egg shape, right? M75 Air, yep, good. And they just don't have other fucking mice anymore. Qatar Pro. See, this is where it gets confusing. This is the Qatar. I just want to see all your fucking mice. Browse all. There we go. Night Saber, Dark Star, bleh. Dark Core. Watch my most viewed video. You can throw up with me. M55 lightweight gaming mouse. That's wired, right? But we showed off in another picture already. M55. Yep, load more. I think there's the Qatar Elite. That mouse is that mouse. Okay, and the Qatar is not originally that shape either. Qatar is a much more rounded shape originally. You guys can go and check my other videos for that. So Qatar Elite, Qatar Pro, or Qatar Pro XT, which is the wired one, right? I don't know if you would, because you probably just go M55 wireless now, right? I feel like they had an M50 Harpoon, worst shape ever. My grandparents have one of mine. Iron Claw, pretty shite. Night Sword, pretty shite. I have all those. I have an Iron Claw. God, that thing's so fucking clunky. I have the M75. This is what I specifically have. M75 Air Launch Edition bundle. Here you go. Sabre RGB Pro Champion Series. They don't have the old Sabre. They call this one the Sabre V2 Pro. They had the Sabre. What was it? Sabre something. That was the mouse I was thinking of all this time. Corsair Sabre. Oh, you guys didn't need to see that. That's the V2. Amazon, Prep Naturals, Corsair M65. Oh yeah, I broke the DPI switch on the Sabre. Like, I've used Sabres for a long time, if you guys are wondering. I think their original Sabre, wired one, was a nice shape. This is the weird thing with the Sabre line. they call it the Sabre V2 Pro. We're on like the third or fourth Sabre, not the version 2. Yeah. Yeah, because they had this thing, Sabre RGB Pro Champion Series. They had the non-RGB one. I have it. I know I did a video on it. Sabre Pro. I guess that maybe that's like they call it the Sabre V2 Pro, but maybe it's the Sabre Pro V2 technically, because the previous Sabre was not a Sabre Pro. Oh, it was just called the Sabre Pro and the Sabre RGB Pro. They don't even mention. See, products and article. They don't even mention the original Pro non-RGB. That was one of the ones that, like, I thought everybody actually would like. Now, this is the one that was actually available everywhere. Was the Sabre RGB Pro, when even Squares got that one, when you actually just wanted the Sabre Pro. Yeah, it's gonna be the V2 Pro. By the way, here's another thing that I don't like about Corsair is the Sabre Pro and Pro RGB, completely different mice except for the RGB. Not completely. The shape's the same. The weight is drastically different, yet the only thing different in the name is the RGB, right? You know, and then way back there's the Sabre laser and the Sabre optical. I got the optical RGB one. You had to custom order that one. That's not the one that the places carried in stores. It's like the better mouse, better one, more competitive one. The cheaper one in many cases that people actually want is the one that's like not available, right? Same thing with the I want to say it's like the Iron Claw or something like that. Or the Gladius or something like that. That one, the metal heavier version was like it had like an aluminum piece on it, kind of like the Scimitar Pro. Whereas the cheaper one that didn't have that extra metal hunk that just made it heavier for no apparent reason. I guess people thought it was more premium. But it was cheaper. Was like way less available. There was also like a skinny, I think it's an M55 not wireless. Corsair M55. That one was a decent mouse too. M55 wired. This guy? Let's see, it's the M55 lightweight. M50. There you go. So this is the RGB Pro ambidextrous. I think they had they had like a base model. This mouse was actually pretty decent too. But they just got rid of it. None of them, because as soon as they don't do well, and a lot of their shapes end up being made by some other company. But this was actually a good ambi mouse in my opinion. Like actually had a decent like a butt on a mouse, right? But of their mice and the offerings, like that seemed like a half decent one. But you had, once again, this is the one they were pushing, was like the RGB Pro variant. Whereas I believe they had a lower end one. What's weird now is that's the M55. This is the M55. Or this is how Corsair's lineup doesn't make any sense. But now this is the M55 lightweight. And the reason why this is the M55 lightweight for $30 is because where is it? This is the M55 wireless, right? But in reality, that is what? Here, which guitar do you want to compare it to? That's a guitar, realistically. They closed in this front part right there. They took away its fangs. And the M55 wireless is basically a guitar, right? Now, if we look at here, if we look at the Night Sabre, Let's look at its underbelly. Do we have an underbelly picture? Of course we don't have an underbelly picture. Why would you actually... You got to have all these marketing shots. How dare you actually have an actual fucking picture of the underside of this mouse? That's ridiculous. You need all this marketing thing. Vaxee understands. You want front, side, top, upside down view of your damn mouse. Look at this. Look at it. All these different angles, different angulations. The one thing that they don't have on this product page that they do on other ones is often they would have, like if they're comparing this against the E1 and the NP-01, they would have a shape outline. If we went to, for example, Vaxee Products Wireless Mice, and we go to the NP-01Sv2 here, right? They should have a shape comparison. They usually do. Watch me be incorrect again. Yeah, they don't on this one either. Maybe they found that that's not useful anymore or something. In the past, they used to always have like a outline, like comparing the outline of this mouse versus the outline of that mouse. Yeah, they don't seem to be doing that anymore. Well, I will eat my own words then. Nom 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 nom. Well, here they're saying what they changed from the previous NP-01. Making slight as straighten the left side concave. Look, it's like I know what I'm talking about with the NP-01S Ergo, how that's concave. Because the revised variant of the NP-01 straightened the left side of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, here they have like little shape things. I've seen before too on some of these where they would overlay another mouse over top of it, basically. But yeah. See, I'm not crazy. And they also straightened this part, which I would say that's pretty much the same. The old one used to like flare a little bit, I think. That's fine. I got no problem with that. But that feels the exact same as the NP-01S. Okay. NP-01Sv2, right side feels exactly the same to me on both of those. But yes, this sort of kind of bulge out underneath. Not a fan. And they specifically addressed that with the updated NP-01. And you're like, oh, but they didn't make a V2. Yeah, I don't... The V2 seems to be related to the guts. They don't necessarily change the versioning when they revise the shape. In this case, just when they went to wireless, they revised the shape. That's a different orange, too, than what I'm used to on my desk at work. Yeah, so that's something about Corsair's lineup. And other brands do this as well. Razer's done it recently when they switched the Death Adder and then the Viper, where Death Adder shape really only doesn't really exist anymore. The Viper still exists as the Cobra. Like, how's that a version 2 Sabre? It looks nothing like the original. This could maybe be a Sabre Pro V2, but it's a Sabre V2 Pro, right? And its shape, this guy's shape, is nothing like any of the previous Sabres. And then I showed you how, realistically, what they're calling the M55 now is really what they called the Qatar before. Screws has the M55. We can compare that sometime to the Qatar and see if there's actually any difference. But it's nothing like the original M55, which I actually thought was a somewhat decent shape. But yeah, all their blingy expensive mice are just like, what I want to know is why are you making this and this and this and that? You're on your like third or fourth revision of the Dark Core. Hairball. Like, oh my god. That, like, I've now in all my years I've returned 2 mice, 2, right? One of which was the original Dark Core. Oh, I think we had a discussion recently of what the other one was. I don't even remember offhand. I think I like bleached my brain on that one. That one went back to Amazon if I recall correctly. But yeah. Corsair, like and you gotta remember, their original good mice, or the one that they got known for, was M65, which is just a heavier metal version of the M45, which was both those were updated designs of the M40, M60, which were done by Raptor Gaming. Check out a recent video we did of a vintage Raptor Gaming mouse that had a really nice, big, chunky scroll wheel. They actually had some innovative mouse designs. I don't know how much that actually stuck around in the industry, but yeah, and it's been shown before that literally Corsair, for the most part, just buys other mouse designs, and apparently this one you can find at a fraction of the cost from another OEM. Like, people have found the exact mouse. Maybe not like with the dual feet. I don't know how exact. You'll have to look up their content for that. I don't know if I would do it, though. And maybe that's why it can't be an IQ, is because it's literally just a We've talked about this before, I think, with Corsair mouse, where I'm like, I can tell you based on all the logos and shit that's on the bottom, and not this one necessarily, but other mice in the past, that I'm like, yep, that they just slap their brand on it, rather than actually designing a new mouse that's theirs. All right, so we're gonna test this. I'm gonna turn this on. We're on. Look at Corsair. We'll give them props. You hold this, and it does change DPI. At least it's supposed to. They're all red. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe Squeers messed this up. Yeah, I think he did, because it's going red, 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 red. I think he said he put a new profile on the mouse. You can't do that. Oh, that is something cool about the Sony, though. The Inzone Mouse 8. It doesn't have DPI steps. It does have profile changing, which is interesting. Sure. Corsair Web Hub. There you go. Authorize. Click. Sabre V2 Pro Ultralight. I was in 2X. That's why you guys didn't see that. My bad. Yeah, there you go. It's on profile 2. Put it on profile 1. DPI, just want to clarify, we have 400 and 1600. Device settings, 8,000 hertz. Sleep time, 10 minutes. We can drop it down to 5. I'm fine with that. Firmware update download. Don't know. I thought at some point I fucked with lift height, but that doesn't seem to even be an option. So right now we are at 400 DPI. We are going to start here, right there. All right, let's put that mouse away. We're gonna start here, and we're gonna start with the mouse there. All right. Mouse ended up there. Now we are going to do the same thing with the XEV2. We're currently on 1600. Whoopsies. There, we're at 400. And we're gonna move it back there. And we're gonna go. There you go. We're that much further. All right. Now the weird thing is that I've found with this Corsair is if we go faster.
Distrust.
Okay. We're going to go here. Right? Here. Here. Zoom. Now we're only that far. There's negative Excel on this mouse. I didn't even make it all the way to the keyboard. And you see we only made it that far. Okay, fine. Okay, press forward. I bumped the side buttons. Press back. We're gonna show this again. the faster you move it. We're only there, right? Whereas if you take the XEV2 here, you get her over here. You get her on the starting line. You get them on the starting line up there. Right? There you go. Starting line. Starting line. Shoop. Look at that. Same spot. Different speed. Mouse be jacked up, yo. Anybody who says they're doing well with this mouse, I don't understand. Because I have now 100% confirmed. Like, I would be doing those really quick flicks that you hear somebody, like, past 90 degrees behind you or something like that, and I wouldn't make it to them. I'd hit my pens, and I know I'm dialed in. Okay, so I've played far too much Call of Duty on the recent engine. Actually, I haven't actually played that much. It looks like I've played a lot because it's now all cumulative in that Call of Duty app. But I play it like once a week, right? On Friday for a couple hours while I watch Wayne show. And I couldn't do stuff. Now, the weird thing is if we go really freaking slowly, I'm going to line the cursor up with this mouse here, right? And then I'm going to put this mouse right here, and it's in its starting spot, and then we're going to take the XEV2 and put it over here. All right, now if we take this and we trundle along, look at that. Whereas we didn't even get off my main 4K monitor when we went fast, right? Whereas this guy, going fast or slow, we'll show again. We'll go really slow with it. Okay, we'll line it up. We'll adjust with another mouse. I know this isn't scientific, but here you go. We'll go really slow. Really slow with it. Same bloody spot. Yes, there's minor difference, but same spot every time. That is why I can't use this mouse, and mice like this. This mouse has negative acceleration, meaning the faster you move it, the less it moves. Which is bonkers. That's opposite of normally what you'd experience in acceleration, right? That is why I can do a better job with the Basilisk. It doesn't frickin' do that. That's why it's, until they fix it, off the desk with you. And it's going to get real confusing for you guys for a while, because onto the desk with the NP-01S Ergo. I mean, I'm so used to the XE. If you guys have not tried what I call an ambi-ergo shape, so it's an ergonomic ambidextrous shape, give it a shot. I really do like the Vaxee XE. It is, and we have a lot of you in the comments that are kind of like, they're like peak mouse. If you like the HyperX, I forget the name of it, main HyperX mouse. If you like the Rocket Burst Pro, Burst series, okay. Burst. If you like the Aerox 3 or the Rival 3, this might be your guy, in my opinion. This is not anybody's guy. You can squish the back in up here like it's squishy. And I'm not even pushing that hard. You could see somebody taking their thumb and just yeah. I don't know. I feel validated Now that I have proved to all of you the negative Excel that I saw. Helped to show Squares, like, because he did some testing. He's like, I think you're not crazy. And it's not just like distance related, because acceleration is normally distance related. It's actually speed related. Don't know why. Crazy. Mice shouldn't do that, for those wondering. Mice should, as this Vaxee XEV2 demonstrated, if you move that distance quickly or slowly, it should be the same distance. Unless you tell it otherwise. Like if you go in the mouse software, because Razer's been pushing actually like variable acceleration, which I don't. Okay, so people are testing now once again, like going back to mouse Excel. There were people in the early days of the laser versus optical, because early optical sensors also had acceleration on them, where the early, like the Kari optical from SteelSeries. Then there was Kari laser. Kari laser was the original. Then there was also the optical. The optical, they actually retained the acceleration because their players that were using the optical mice at the time were used to having mice with built-in acceleration. Like early MX518s had acceleration, if I recall. Like people were used to that, right? So in that case, like that's what people are used to. We put it in there. Not that it's necessarily a good thing. In my opinion, you should be used to, like, especially in a game where if you aim to lower corner, that should end up on the same place in your mouse pad every time, right? It should be the same exact estimated distance. Now, theoretically, if you're flicking real hard, real fast, I'm not saying you can't get used to acceleration, but when that is going to have a different curve to it, and then you're going to have to make sure, oh, when I switch to something else, does it have a different level of acceleration? Is it in the mouse? Is it controllable? Is it not controllable? Like Razer, they want to give you like a curve like you would have on an analog stick is how their control is on like the Basilisk over there. Me personally, I have always been the type of person, like I almost, this comes from my design/drawing background, that sort of stuff, where it's like, I want to use it like a Wacom tablet, right? Like if I go here and I go there, that moves within this certain box on my screen. 1600 DPI I have been using on my displays. Like I tried 3200 for a while, and that's what I use for desktop, right? And then for gaming, I eventually went down to 8, and then now I'm back down to 4. Apparently, people have been telling me I have to go due to like report rates and stuff. Oh, you should go back up to 8, but then I have to figure out which in-game sense I like. Whereas like in Call of Duty, default in-game sense of 8. I actually played like that for a long time, but as of MW2 or later updates of MW2, I bumped it up to 10, just a little bit more, and that helped me a lot. So I mean, if it's a linear scale, I'd have to, if I double the DPI, I'd have to have the in-game sense, right? Well, then if we have the in-game sense, is the toggle in-game for view sight, is that a variable on top of, like, say you set 5 and it does 0.75 of whatever number is here? Or is it its own value? Like in CS, it's its own value. So if you have to lower it down to a certain point for your main, you may not even be able to lower your scoped view far enough, theoretically. Stuff like that's all stuff you have to think about. So I'm happy at 400, I guess, and I'm like one of those people like back in the day where they're like 500 hertz was fine. I'm just gonna keep running that. Like a lot of that's why a lot of these places, even Vaxee this day, they still support. They got rid of 125 now, but there are still those CS guys that have been playing CS 1.6 forever that like they want their 500 hertz. That's what they're dialed in on. Sure, have at it. I guess questions and comments down below as we give you another 360 here of the NP-01S Ergo. I know it's confusing that I got another mouse in light green, but originally when it was ordered, the brown variant would have been, weeks and or months out. I like going to the separated buttons here. Much improvement. Just being able to, you don't can't mush them really at the same time then. So Let me know your thoughts, comments, questions down below. Finally got my VIP NP-01S Ergo. For me, it's an improvement. I don't know about being an improvement for a lot of NP-01S users. For what it is, the NP-01Sv2 is pretty dialed in, especially for a claw gripper, I would think. 3-finger, probably not so much. This is kind of reverting a little bit back to the NP-01. See you in the next one. Peace.